All right, Saagar, what are you looking at?
Well, the biggest foreign policy question of our time right now is actually really simple. What do we do with China? The simple question, it's going to be the theme of almost every major action that we take in the post-Afghanistan war on terror era. It has got near-term ones like what should we do about Taiwan or the South China Sea. It's got long-term ones on what exactly we want our military to be doing, on whether old alliances like NATO make any sense, whether new ones with Japan and South Korea would be a lot better. Amid all of that, what matters is that we have a real debate in this country. Everything should be on the table. All the information should be considered. And while it is pretty popular online today to say that the powers that be favor war with China and that anyone who expresses concerns about global competition is a bought-off war hawk, the reality is that China has already taken a critical step in shaping our current information environment by actually buying off the powers that be. In fact, it is becoming clear the richest and most powerful people in America today have a lot more to lose from competition and tension with China than anything to gain. Let's take one of the greatest villains in America, BlackRock. You've probably heard about them here on this show, about their bid to buy up massive amounts of single-family housing and turn America into a rentier society. Obviously, Crystal and I say hell no to that one. But what people don't notice is that housing isn't their only big play to get fantastically wealthy. The other one is to sell out the United States and even manipulate our own domestic investors at the behest of the Chinese government in exchange for big favors overseas. Let me explain. Story starts in July 2021. Back then, that was when China cracked down on Tencent's initial public offering. Tencent was a massive Chinese media company, which was going public. Well, here's what happened. They raised billions of dollars here in the US markets, but then the Chinese government decided, no, you guys are getting too big for your britches, so they fined them, took away the IPO, and exerted control over the company. And all those US investors, their money was just stolen. It's the latest company that they've done that to, and it was a signal to the Chinese billionaire class there is only one head honcho in Beijing. That's the government. That action, as it should have, sparked some scaries on Wall Street. They wondered, hey, if they can just steal our money and then take over the companies, is this really a stable market? Should we keep giving these people money? Well, right at the height of the sell-off, executives from Goldman Sachs, BlackRock, and other U.S. financial firms were summoned to meet with the deputy head of the Chinese version of the SEC. Words were exchanged. Somehow, miraculously, 20 days later, BlackRock's long-wanted plan to offer mutual funds in China was approved. At the exact same time that this multi-billion-dollar windfall comes into the lap of BlackRock, guess what happens? BlackRock goes on a major PR campaign to tell people that China not only isn't a bad investment, that American investors don't have enough of their money in China. They told their investors to boost their investments in China by 200 to 300%. So let's call this what it is. It's pay to play. BlackRock does Chinese PR, and in exchange, they get to make billions in the Chinese market. You could brush it off and say, it's only one firm. Well, Wall Street is actually entirely uniform in its pro-Chinese propaganda. In fact, probably without your knowledge, U.S. mutual funds and ETFs investing in China held a collective $43 billion in net assets at the end of August, up 43% from the last year. In the year in which China literally covered up a plague ravaging global society, the richest people in our country just handed them even more money. Goldman Sachs ended 2020 by actually buying the permission from the Chinese government, full ownership of its investment venture in China. It fully integrated its Chinese business into their global operations, meaning that like all business in China, it is now essentially directed and controlled by the Chinese government. Which is why in mid-September, they released a new propaganda pamphlet which boggles the mind in how much bootlicking that you can see. Let's put it up there. They released this clownish, multi-page report in which it details how pro-business China actually is. How while, yes, investors, it is a little troubling that they throw people in jail with no regard for the rule of law and they can take over a company at will, that it's a completely authoritarian system, but don't worry about that. Emerging markets aren't going to be touched, and that is why you, Goldman Sachs investor, should give us your money so we can put it into Chinese business and we can all make lots more money. Really think about that for a second. After watching with your own eyes how China controls business and will steal US dollars, Goldman Sachs is writing pamphlets about why all of that is fine, why you should give them more. At what point do we call BlackRock and Goldman Sachs exactly what they are? They're propaganda arms of the Chinese Communist Party. They are bought and paid for foreign actors. They should be treated as such and under our domestic laws. One of the core themes of the show is follow the money and follow the people who have all the money. Right now, BlackRock CEO's former chief of staff, Wally Adamio, is literally Joe Biden's deputy secretary of the Treasury, the person who runs all day-to-day operations of our Treasury Department. His other former employee is Brian Deese, the current head of the National Economic Council, who before his White House job was, quote, head of sustainable investing for BlackRock, where he pocketed at least being the key, $2.3 million. I'll posit a take which will make the online left's head explode. What if the people with the most to gain financially are those who are pushing peace at all costs with China? It sure seems that way to me. I say this only to spark a conversation, which I think is vital. What should we do about any of this? If you in good faith think that we should be completely okay and the Chinese and US economy should be intertwined, so be it. Completely accept that. But increasingly, I see a situation, tension in East Asia is rising, and honest conversations are actually being covered up in America by the richest and most powerful people in the country. What we need instead is to examine the problem at all angles and come to a real consensus. That is how democracy is supposed to work. And it failed the last time that we considered the China problem precisely because of the massive lobbying power of big business. And this time, we cannot let that happen again. I think it's pretty astounding, Crystal. You know, the New York Times article, you read, it's so brazen the way that they handle it.
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching.
That's right. Just as a reminder, you can become a premium subscriber today. Watch the full show completely uncut, our reactions to each other's monologues. You get to listen to it. You get to ask us questions, all that good stuff. Link is right there in the description or at breakingpoints.com.
Best of all, great way to say screw you to the mainstream media.